Thank you, Senator Bushby. Senator Dastyari.
Mr Acting Deputy President, I rise to speak on a matter of public importance. In just under 2 hours, we're going to finally see unveiled the Abbott government's budget of broken promises. Throughout the campaign, voters were given promise after promise by the then opposition leader, Tony Abbott, going so far as to say, hours out from the last federal election, no cuts to education, no cuts to health, no change to the pension, no cuts to the ABC or SBS. Mr Acting Deputy President, voters put their trust in Mr Abbott and in his words when they elected him as the Prime Minister of Australia. But the Prime Minister today will reveal that he has abused the trust of the Australian people. Voters who took Mr Abbott at his words have been duped, they've been misled. Mr Abbott made promises during the election campaign that won't be kept this evening. The public will be the victims of this deceit. And, Mr President, if the leaks about the budget are accurate, if what has been strategically dropped by the government in media stories over the past week is true, then frankly the Prime Minister has not kept his word, and the Prime Minister in those cases has lied to the Australian public. Now, Mr President, or Mr Acting Deputy President, the rules of debate in this chamber don't permit me to use the offensive words against neither House nor member. But I suspect there will be many people who took Mr Abbott at his word, who gave him their trust, who gave him their vote, and have every right to be offended by him today. And I suspect some of the offensive words will be used by those voters tonight as the Abbott government breaks promise after promise in its budget. Tonight we're going to hear Mr Abbott break his promise to our elderly pensioners, to young families sending their kids to our schools and hospitals, and to the people who rely on our public broadcasters. Mr Acting Deputy President, voters may have been jaded by choices facing them at the ballot last September, but they have every right to be outraged by the duplicity of Tony Abbott and Mr Abbott, his deception, his dishonesty and his fraudulence, if the claims that have been strategically dropped to the media are true. And it has been with all due respect to our Prime Minister that even the News Corp press have stood up this week to call him out for what is a litany of broken promises. Even his friends and the Prime Minister's supporters are shocked by the lies that have been used to coax voters to cast their ballot papers that now appear are not going to be kept. We have heard members repeatedly in the media of both the Coalition's backbench and Cabinet that are disgusted by the duplicity, the deception and the dishonesty of what's been said. We have heard members are calling Coalition MPs to remind them that this isn't what they signed up for. This is not governing the country with integrity. Mr Acting Deputy President, the very idea of fairness that is a foundation of Australian culture and society is something Mr Abbott used again and again during his campaign. He told us he was going to be the most fair dinkum Prime Minister we've had. But the Prime Minister has not been fair to his party colleagues, he's not been fair to his organisation, and he has not been, more importantly, fair to Australian voters. He has violated the trust that he was instilled with, and he does not deserve their confidence. Mr Acting Deputy President, Australians are about to receive a budget that no one thought they would be getting, that they were told wouldn't be the case. Not even in the most cynical corners of the Liberal Party were they expecting what is going to be unveiled tonight. Tonight we will receive the Abbott government's first budget of broken promises, a budget that's built on duplicity, on deception, on dishonesty and on lies. Mr Acting Deputy President, when our kids stop going to the doctor for checkups, Australian voters will remember that that wasn't something they voted for. When our grandparents and our parents and people of my generation are working until 70, They'll remember that Tony Abbott was not something that he promised.
Your time is up, Senator Destiari. Senator Williams.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. What a pleasure it is to follow